Huh. So, I can be hurt, right? Yeah, I can. Alright then. Well, for doing this, is there a way that I can see chat somewhere? Probably somewhere. Ah, crap. Somewhere. What is... Okay, loading happening. Very much loading happening. I know you guys can't see what's going on yet. It's okay, I am working on it. Okay. We are live. Stream health is healthy, I believe. No, YouTube is wonky right now. I can't do too many things at once. But I believe we're ready. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dragonsmith's channel for gaming and other assorted awesomeness. Today, I'm not sure whether we're falling between whether we're falling into the gaming category or the assorted awesomeness category, but maybe somewhere in between. Because today we're doing Let's Play competitive Pokemon. So some of you might know this, some of you might not, but I love Pokemon. It is my passion. I am so much into Pokemon, man. So, but not just, playing through the games once or twice, and just, getting your team of 6, maybe more if that's how you play, getting attached to those creatures, excuse me, and just, playing through the story, saving the world. That's fun, and I love doing that, and I'll do it a couple times for sure. But once I've beaten the game, I tend to get much more into the competitive side. And that is all thanks to Pokemon Sun and Moon, which I completely recommend. If you are a Pokemon player, casual Pokemon player, and you're looking to get into competitive Pokemon, I recommend 2 things for you. 1, continue watching this series. Hopefully I will be able to give you some tips and tricks, and you can use the same website that I'm using, which is Pokemon Showdown. Just search it up on Google. It's otherwise known as Smogon. And then the other tip I give you is to either buy or play through again Pokemon Sun and Moon. And once you've beaten the game, Pokemon Sun and Moon is probably the easiest game in the series to get back into Pokemon competitive, or to get into competitive Pokemon at all. I don't know how easy it's going to be for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It hasn't come out yet, so I haven't been able to play it. So hopefully they'll make it easy in that one too. But Pokemon Sun and Moon provided a lot of tools for brand new competitive players, or even old-time competitive players that just make it easy in general. In addition, that's the game that competitive Pokemon players are playing now. If you want to get into the competitive scene, that's where it is currently. Probably will be an Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon when that comes out, unless they have cross-compatibility like they did with X and Y and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. But that's enough ranting about Pokemon in general. I just, love Pokemon, and I can talk for hours on end to people who do not give a shit what I'm talking about Pokemon and why I love it. But I think the biggest thing is it allows you to really get your strategy flowing. Like, it's a huge strategy game, and a lot of people don't necessarily realize that, because in single player mode you tend to just brute force your way through, which is fine. It works completely fine in single player mode, but in competitive you can't do that. You really have to think about what your strategy is. And today, and hopefully in the coming days, if you guys actually like this series, and if I like this series, I'm going to slowly go through as many Pokemon as I can so that we can add them to our team, and together play competitive Pokemon against whoever on Smogon, on PokemonShowdown.com. It has a downloadable app, which I'm using, but it's exactly the same as the browser game, so just do the browser if you don't want to download anything. It's fine. So, I'm going to go to Team Builder. And I have a couple teams that I'm just fiddling with. This is not going to stick on. Also, this isn't needed. Oh, what is going on over here? Sorry, that's my phone. Ooh, someone just, oh, never mind, it's a porn bot. Excuse me. I thought someone new was following me on Tumblr, but nope. Just, you know, a bot. By the way, if anyone wants to follow me on social media, I have a Facebook, but I don't use Facebook. I don't use Twitter. I don't use Snapchat or Instagram. I just can't get into that. So if you want to follow me on social media, go to tumblr.com/ what am I don't know what my URL is. Just look for Straight Guy on Tumblr. That's my blog. So if you want to check that out, go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to start a new team. So first step. Yeah, this is the first step, and it seems to be somewhat overwhelming at first. But basically, in online competitive, like browser competitive, there's something called tiers. And basically, every Pokemon is put into a tier, depending on how powerful it is and how useful it is. And depending on what tier you're playing, you can come up against different Pokemon. So in a high tier, you can play with anything in any tier underneath that tier. So if you're playing in UU, underused, you can play with any Pokemon from rarely used or never used, but you can't play with any Pokemon from Ubers or overused. So that's basically how that works. I personally hate, and I say hate, the tier system. I think it's stupid. I think it discourages experimentation. And I think, well, a lot of strong thoughts about this. But there's a couple people on YouTube who have done similar discussions about this. I'm just going to give my pitch on this. I think it's a good idea in theory, but it got out of hand. I think, yes, you're right. In general, a Magikarp is never going to be able to go up against a Garchomp. And that's the basic idea of it. So you don't want someone using a Magikarp against a Garchomp. But it gets to the point where things are banned from OU because people say that they're too hard to counter, when really it just seems, and I'm not saying this definitively, but it just seems like they just don't know how to handle it. And there's always a way to handle it. I think there should be, I don't know, I just think it should be less strict. I think it should be less enforced. I don't know. Maybe it should be more recommended. But, okay, I'm talking too much at the beginning of this. The way this is going to go is I'm going to play in Battle Spot Singles. Why? Because Battle Spot Singles, or also Battle Spot Doubles, whereas, you know, singles is 1-on-1, whereas doubles is 2-on-2. Battle Spot means the Wi-Fi in game. So if I'm going in Battle Spot Singles, that means all Pokemon that are allowed in the Battle Spot in Pokemon Sun and Moon are allowed. So I don't have to worry about what this website and the creators think is good or not. I just have to worry about, you know, what I think and whether it's actually allowed in-game or not. So now we're going to hit Add Pokemon. Basic format of this is going to be, I'm going to say, ooh, I could have a chat room. Can you just make a chat room? Or do you have to have enough people? I don't know. Maybe sometime in the future, if this gets a popular enough series, I can make a chat room so that while I'm playing, I can watch the chat room in-game, because it's incredibly inconvenient to watch chat without a second monitor or powerful computer. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a Pokemon every episode and use that Pokemon, go over everything it can do, and this episode is going really long because I barely planned this. I now have an idea of what I want to do, but it's also going to be long because it's the first episode I have to explain what I'm doing. But I'm going to pick one Pokemon, explain what it can do, multiple ways to use it, how I personally like to use it, and go over its stats, things like that. And then we're going to put that Pokemon into our already existing Pokemon team and use it in battles online. So regular episodes might be about half an hour, or maybe even less. This episode is going to be like probably an hour, maybe more, because I don't know. I have no idea how much I've already rambled on for. So, but the basic idea is, the problem with this in the first episode is we don't already have an existing team, and 1-on-3 isn't going to go well. But Battle Spot Singles is 3-on-3. Battle Spot Doubles is 4-on-4. Whereas in doubles you use 2 of those at a time. But Singles is 3-on-3. We're going to stick with that for a while, because it has a completely different metagame than doubles. And for those of you who don't know that term, metagame basically means extra game, outside of game universe game. So in Pokemon, the game is, the Pokemon and the storyline and what you do in the single-player game, whereas metagame would be outside of that in the competitive, what the players make it, is my best description of that. So we're going to pick one Pokemon and go from there. Basic rules in Battlespot. Basic rules in competitive in general. You can only have one of every Pokemon in your team. So I can't have 2 Alakazams in my team. And the way you decide that is if it has the same Pokedex number. So you can't use 2 different forms of Deoxys, because Deoxys still has the 1 Pokedex number. But you could use like Plusle and Minun if you want. Even though they're similar, they're not the same Pokemon, and they have different Pokedex numbers. So, if you're not sure if you can use 2 Pokemon together, if they have different numbers in the Pokedex, they're fine. But different forms of the same Pokemon do have the same Pokedex number, so you can't. Second rule is you can only use 1 of each item in a team. So you can't have 2 Pokemon with a Choice Scarf. You can have 1 with a Choice Scarf and 1 with something else. You can't have 2 with leftovers. You can, if you want, have 2 Pokemon with their respective Mega Stones, since you can't use the same Pokemon anyway. But be aware, according to basic game mechanics, you can only Mega Evolve once per battle anyway. So, if you have a Mega Garchomp and a Mega Alakazam, you can only use 1 of them in each battle. Meaning you could be using that item slot for a different item. Z crystals also are interesting the same way. Number 1, you can't use the same type of Z crystal twice because you can't use the same item twice. But you can have 2 different Z crystals on 2 different Pokemon. Just be aware, as with Mega Evolution, you can only use a Z move once per battle. Apparently that might be changing in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon to 2 Z moves per battle, but as of now, you can only use 1 Z move per battle. So, those are the basics of the game, the basics of team building. So, usually what I do for team building is I pick 1 pretty powerful Pokemon to use as a centerpiece. And the centerpiece I call it the centerpiece. And the centerpiece Pokemon can make or break a team easily. A bad centerpiece Pokemon, even if the Pokemon itself is good, if it doesn't do well as a centerpiece, then it could ruin your entire team. But a good centerpiece Pokemon with few weaknesses that are easily covered, and that actually does a lot of damage, or it tanks well or something, is good to have. So, I'm going to start with a very powerful Pokemon that I'm sure everyone knows. Mega Garchomp. So, if you pick a Mega, it'll automatically input the Mega item. You can change this if you want, but then you just won't be able to Mega Evolve it. It won't actually be Mega Garchomp. Ability, Sand Force. So I'm going... This is important. It will become Sand Force when it Mega Evolves, but what you can do is you can also... It will default to Sand Veil, but I can also set it to Rough Skin before Mega Evolving. It'll just change to Sand Force after. So I'm going to go Rough Skin. By the way, I'm pretty much assuming you know the basics of Pokemon in this game for this. But I can go over stats, I guess, for those of you who just kind of ran through the game, whatever, didn't even look at them. So I guess I'll do that. Also, if you're in Battle Spot doubles, or if you're in Battle Spot singles or doubles, it will default to level 50 because that's what you play at. But I like to change it to 100 just because that boosts the stats by a bunch and makes it easier for me to tell what's going on with them. But anyway, he has Rough Skin. When Mega Evolving, it'll be Sand Force. Now, what Garchomp would be a Garchomp without Earthquake? Obviously. You can't have a Garchomp without Earthquake. Oh, man. Okay. So, secondly, Dragon-type move. A lot of people do use Outrage. Problem is that locks you in. And you can just switch out with it after when he gets confused, but that means you're stuck using Outrage for 2 to 3 turns, and if they switch in a Fairy type, then you're kind of screwed. So, it's very powerful though, and it has 100% accuracy, so that's completely fine if you want to use Outrage. That's definitely a possibility. Other possibility then is Dragon Claw, which does not lock you in and still has 100% accuracy, but only has 80 power. Which, you know, with Stab would be 120, however, not too strong. When Earthquake, you know, is 150 power. Or Outrage could have been 180 power. So, a lot of people go with Outrage just because it's much more powerful. Problem is it's locked in. Third option is Dragon Rush. You know, if it wants to. Here we go. Dragon Rush. This is 100 power as just like with Earthquake. However, it's only 75% accurate. That means 1 out of 4 hits, probably more because RNG sucks, it's going to miss. And that's not even counting if they have a Drifblim or a Clefable that's got Minimize or something. And then it will definitely miss. So, but it also has a 20% chance to flinch. So that's your option. I tend to run Dragon Claw. I know it doesn't do as much damage, but it's still an option, right? And it's physical. And Garchomp gets Sword Stance, which is how I like to run it. So, okay, third slot, we've got a couple options. We've got a Fire-type move. Fire Blast and Fire Fang are both commonly used on Garchomp. Fire Blast is a special move, so it can't be boosted if you're using Sword Stance or something like that, but it can two-shot certain threats to Garchomp, like Skarmory or Chansey. There's not a Mega Chansey. That would be vicious. Ouch. But it can one-shot, I believe, Togekiss. Not one-shot. I think it can two-shot Togekiss, because Togekiss is immune to both Dragon Claw and Earthquake. Skarmory, similarly, is immune to Earthquake and resists Dragon Claw, but is weak to Fire Blast. And then there's Fire Fang, which is physical along with the other two, meaning if you're using a status to boost it, you can also boost that. What did I just step on? Ow. You can also boost Fire Fang with Sword Stance. So, but it's much weaker than Fire Blast. Fire Blast is less accurate as well, but people tend to... But since Fire Fang is like 5% inaccurate as well, whatever. So, I mean, hidden power fire, I guess. Ew. When he's got such good fire moves anyway. Wait, can I learn flamethrower? It can, but so if you don't like the inaccuracy of Fire Blast, you can go with Flamethrower, which is weaker and probably can't two-shot those threats of his. But it's there. So Flamethrower is very useful because it won't actually two-shot those threats. So one is you can use a Fire-type coverage move to take out Skarmory and Togekiss. Or you can go with, let's see. Let's do this. There's a couple other options. You can go with Rock Slide for flinching. There's actually another, there's actually a good strategy with Garchomp using Rock Slide. If you're not doing Mega Garchomp, you can do Scarf or you can do Scarf or Band Rock Slide, which is basically, if we look at here, we have a Choice Scarf here. Holder's speed is 1.5 times, but it can only select one move and use it over and over again. Locked in, much like Outrage. Same with Choice Band, does the same thing, but boosts your attack